Welcome to another episode of Heartfelt Stories, where we delve deep into stories that touch the heart and explore themes of justice, inequality, and the pursuit of a better life. Today's story will take you on an emotional journey, one of struggle, resilience, and hope. As we journey with Emily Thompson, a young single mother, we will witness the emotional weight she carries for her child and the sacrifices she makes to give her daughter, Lily, a better future. Emily Thompson had always dreamed of a different life, a life where she didn't have to constantly worry about making ends meet, where Lily, her 2-year-old daughter, wouldn't have to wonder if her mother was going to be home at night. But the reality was far different. Sitting in seat 23C of an aging Boeing 737, Emily clutched her worn leather purse tightly. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold but from the weight of her decisions. The $300 she had borrowed from her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Anderson, weighed heavily on her conscience. The money had been meant to cover her bus fare, a quick breakfast, and the hotel room she would need for the night in London, all to make it to a crucial job interview the next day. Back home in Manchester, Lily was likely asking Mrs. Anderson where her mommy was. The thought made Emily's heart ache, but she had to stay focused. Everything she was doing, every sacrifice she made, was for Lily. Emily glanced around at the other passengers, their expensive carry-ons and well-tailored suits reminding her of the life she wasn't part of. At 26, she had never imagined her life would be like this, working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and constantly choosing between paying the electricity bill or buying a new pair of shoes for Lily. Her ex-husband's child support had stopped coming 6 months ago, right around the time he posted photos of his Caribbean vacation with his new girlfriend. But Emily wasn't going to give up. The phone call from her cousin Michael, who worked at a tech company in London, had offered her a lifeline. There was an executive assistant position open at his company, and the pay was nearly double what she was currently making. The opportunity felt too important to miss, and she had borrowed every penny she could to make the flight. As the plane taxied down the runway, Emily's mind wandered to the parting moment with Lily. Her daughter had clung to her legs, crying, "I be good, Mommy," not understanding why her mother had to leave. It took every ounce of strength for Emily to peel herself away from those tiny arms and kiss the top of Lily's head, promising her she would be back soon. The flight attendants' voices pulled Emily back to reality. The Boeing 737 was now in the air, and the cabin lights flickered as it reached cruising altitude. She sat back in her seat, allowing the hum of the engines to soothe her nerves. She knew the next 24 hours could change everything for her and Lily. As the plane soared above the clouds, Emily couldn't help but think of Lily. The little girl had such a unique way of seeing the world. Just yesterday, Lily had pointed at the sky during their evening walks, declaring that every cloud looked like a different animal. The thought of Lily's infectious giggle made Emily's eyes well up with tears. Just as she was lost in thought, the familiar buzzing of the seatbelt sign jolted her back to reality. Emily looked at her phone, quickly switching it to airplane mode. She scrolled through the photos of Lily, her first steps, her second birthday party where Emily had baked the cake herself, her first day at daycare. That daycare was another expense Emily could barely afford, but she needed somewhere safe for Lily while she worked her shifts. Patricia, the daycare owner, was kind enough to let Lily stay extra hours when Emily picked up additional shifts. The thought of how hard Lily was working just to make sure Emily could survive weighed heavily on Emily's heart. But she couldn't afford to dwell on it. The interview tomorrow was her only shot at changing their future. As the plane cruised further, the emotional exhaustion of the past few weeks took its toll. Emily's eyelids grew heavier with each passing minute. She tried to shake off the overwhelming thoughts, but the stress from the past few months had left her exhausted. The last thing Emily remembered was the flight attendants asking if she wanted a drink. She had shaken her head, managing a weak smile. The complimentary beverages would have to wait. Every penny she had needed to be spent wisely. And then, the exhaustion took over. Blank. Hours later, Emily woke with a start. The cabin was darker now, and most passengers had turned off their reading lights. Emily shifted in her seat, feeling the stiffness in her neck from the awkward position she had slept in. As she reached down to adjust her purse, something slipped from her lap and landed on the floor with a soft thud. Confused, she bent down and picked up the object. It was a folded piece of paper. Her heart raced as she unfolded it. The handwriting was neat but clearly rushed, written on what looked like airline stationery. "Dear tired mama," the letter began, and the words that followed would leave Emily speechless, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. As Emily Thompson stepped off the plane, her heart raced, but she was filled with a sense of both excitement and fear. The bright lights of London seemed to mock her uncertainty as she walked through the terminal. The weight of the mysterious letter still heavy in her purse. What had she gotten herself into? She couldn't shake the thought that there was something more to this than just a simple act of kindness. Who was this person, and why had they chosen her? She had made her decision in the air. But now, standing in the bustling airport, everything felt so surreal. She glanced around, half expecting to see someone watching her. But there was no sign of the mysterious benefactor. The taxi stand was ahead, and as she walked towards it, she noticed a sign with her name, Sarah Matthews, written neatly in black ink. It was the same name from the letter. This was the moment that could change everything. But should she trust this? As Emily approached the elderly man holding the sign, she couldn't help but notice his warm smile. He was holding the sign high, his eyes kind, and there was something about him that made her feel at ease. He introduced himself as Walter and gestured toward the taxi waiting nearby. "Good evening, miss. I'm to take you to the Westbrook Hotel," he said gently, his voice carrying a softness that was almost grandfatherly. Emily nodded, her mind racing with the decision she had made. She felt a strange sense of relief, but there was still a nagging voice in the back of her mind. Could this really be happening? The taxi ride was peaceful, the sound of Walter's voice calming her nerves as he spoke about his grandchildren. Emily could barely focus on his words, her mind wandering back to the letter, to the strange connection between this woman and herself. Could this truly be the same person who had once helped someone else? Someone just like Emily? It seemed too good to be true. As the taxi drove through the city, she couldn't help but feel like she was walking into a fairy tale. A fairy tale that had suddenly become her reality. When they arrived at the Westbrook Hotel, Emily felt a wave of awe wash over her. The hotel lobby was luxurious, with marble floors and chandeliers that sparkled as if welcoming her into a world she had never imagined. Walter insisted on carrying her small suitcase, his kind eyes softening at her hesitation. "First time at the Westbrook?" he asked. Emily nodded, clutching the letter in her hand, her heart pounding as they approached the front desk. The clerk behind the counter greeted her with a warm smile. "Good evening, miss. We've been expecting you. Your room is ready, and this package was left for you." The clerk handed her a large cream-colored envelope, and Emily's fingers trembled as she took it. The clerk added, "Miss Morrison said you might arrive late and requested we keep the spa open for you for an extra hour. Would you like me to show you the way?" The mention of Catherine Morrison sent a shiver down Emily's spine. The name was familiar, but it didn't make sense. How could someone from the letter be involved in arranging this for her? The woman from the plane, the one who had written the letter, couldn't be the same person who had arranged all of this. Could she? The clerk's smile faltered when she noticed Emily's confusion. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Emily stood frozen for a moment before replying, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, I think there's been a mistake. This is not what I expected." The clerk, sensing her distress, guided her to the elevator, and Walter remained quietly beside her. Emily felt like a stranger in this new world, unsure of what she was walking into. Her thoughts were clouded by the series of bizarre events unfolding around her, and she couldn't stop wondering how everything fit together. The elevator doors opened directly into a luxurious suite. Emily walked into the room, her feet sinking into the plush carpet, and she was overwhelmed by the opulence surrounding her. It was more than she had ever dreamed of. Her heart pounded as she sank into an armchair. Still clutching the envelope, she opened it carefully, and inside was another letter. This one typed on elegant stationery. It was addressed to her directly, and as she read it, her heart seemed to stop. The letter spoke of Catherine Morrison and how the woman had started a tradition of helping others, especially single mothers like herself. But there was more. The letter mentioned that the money and the hotel were part of an arrangement that would give Emily a fair shot at the interview for the position at Meridian Technologies. "My father's company," the letter read. "I have no doubt that you have the fire and determination to succeed. You will find your destiny here, not through luck, but through your own hard work and merit. At the bottom of the letter was a small hand-drawn heart with a steaming coffee cup, just like the one from the letter on the plane. Emily's heart raced, but as she reread the letter, her mind began to swirl with a mix of emotions. There was the opportunity of a lifetime right before her, yet she was filled with a sense of unease. How could this be happening? Who was behind this? And why her? After changing into the stunning navy blue suit that had been provided for her, Emily felt like a completely different person. She looked in the mirror, hardly recognizing the woman staring back at her. But was it enough? Was she ready for what lay ahead? Just then, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me in the hotel bar in 15 minutes. You need to know the truth." Emily stared at the message. Could it be the same person from the plane? The one who had written the letter? Her mind raced with possibilities. She thought about the woman who had helped her. But what was the truth? What could possibly be waiting for her? Would Emily take the next step and meet this mysterious person? Would she learn the truth behind the strange events that had led her here? Or would it be too much to handle? What do you think, Heartfelt Stories audience? Should Emily trust the signs? Or should she walk away from it all? What's the truth that lies in the hotel bar? Leave your thoughts below, and stay tuned for the final part of the story. Emily Thompson stepped into the hotel bar, the soft jazz music and dim lighting offering a stark contrast to the whirlwind of thoughts racing through her mind. Her fingers trembled as she gripped her purse, the mysterious text message from echoing in her thoughts. She scanned the room, her eyes finally landing on a woman sitting alone at a corner table. Her back to the room, the woman was wearing a blue blazer, just like the one in the letter. As Emily walked closer, her heart pounded. She noticed a small, familiar detail on the table, a worn envelope, much like the one her mother had given her years ago, the one that contained her father's final letter. Emily stopped mid-step, her breath catching in her throat. Was this a coincidence? Or was this woman somehow connected to everything that had happened to her? The woman turned, and Emily found herself staring into eyes that mirrored her own. The stranger smiled sadly, and Emily felt a wave of recognition hit her. "Hello, Emily," the woman said, her voice soft but filled with an undeniable sense of familiarity. "I'm your sister." Emily blinked, her heart nearly stopping in her chest. "What? No, that can't be." The woman nodded, her expression both warm and filled with sorrow. "Yes, it's true. I know this is a lot to take in, but I promise you, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you understand everything." Emily shook her head, her mind reeling. "But how? I don't have a sister. My father, he died years ago. And I know." The woman interrupted gently, her voice tinged with a sadness that matched Emily's own. "I'm Rachel Morrison, your father's daughter. I was adopted when I was young. But after he passed, I found out about you, about our connection. And I've spent years trying to piece this all together." Emily felt the room spin. She had always thought her family's story was simple, that the loss of her father and the subsequent hardships were just part of her life. But this was something entirely different. "Your father," Rachel continued, "he was the man who founded Morrison Technologies, the company now known as Meridian Technologies. But that company wasn't supposed to be bought out like it was. It was stolen from him, from us, and now we have the chance to make things right." Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. "The company, the one I've been trying to get a job at? The one that Catherine Morrison is involved with?" Her voice faltered, the connection slowly dawning on her. "Yes, Catherine Morrison is the woman who orchestrated the buyout. She took control of your father's company and hid the truth about what really happened. But we're not here to talk about her, not directly. At least, we're here to reclaim what's rightfully yours," Rachel said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "But why me?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "Why is all of this happening now? Why did Catherine help me? Why the letter? The money?" Rachel smiled faintly. "It's all part of a larger plan, one that began long before either of us knew about it. Catherine, for all her faults, believes in second chances. When I found out about you, about your struggles, I wanted to help, just like someone helped me 10 years ago." Emily listened, her heart racing. This was more than just an unexpected job interview. This was a chance to reclaim everything her family had lost, and perhaps to restore the dignity that had been stolen from them. But the more she learned, the more questions she had. "What do I do now?" Emily asked, her voice barely a whisper. "How do I take the next step? What's the truth behind all of this? Tomorrow, Rachel said, you have an interview with James Wilson at Meridian Technologies. But it's not just about the job. It's about reclaiming your family's legacy. Your father's legacy. James, he's the man who's been looking out for you all these years. But he hasn't been able to tell you the truth until now. The name James Wilson sent a jolt through Emily. The man she'd researched. The chief technology officer of Meridian Technologies. He was her father's business partner. And someone who had kept an eye on her family for years. But why had he been watching her? Why hadn't he told her the truth sooner? James has always been there for you. Rachel continued, but he couldn't reveal everything until you were ready to hear it. Your father's company, it's more than just a business. It's the key to everything. Emily nodded, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She felt the familiar pull of responsibility. Emma, her daughter, her world, had always been her driving force. But now, with the pieces of her past falling into place, she realized that this was more than just about her future. It was about Emma's future, and the legacy she would one day inherit. But, why the hotel? Why all of this? Emily asked, her mind still struggling to make sense of everything. That's the last part of the plan, Rachel said softly. This hotel, the money, the job interview, everything is designed to help you succeed. But only if you trust yourself. The next step is up to you. Emily, do you have what it takes to follow through? Are you ready to claim what's yours? Emily felt the weight of the decision before her. She thought about the long hours spent at the diner, the struggles of being a single mother, and the dreams she had for her daughter's future. And she realized something. She was ready. I'm ready, she said, her voice steady, a new resolve blossoming within her. Rachel smiled, her eyes softening. Good, then let's go make sure tomorrow is the beginning of something new. Something better. Your father would be proud. Emily nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. She had a chance, a real chance. Not just for her, but for Emma, for the future she could finally provide. It was time to reclaim everything her family had lost, to rise from the ashes of their past and build something new. As Emily and Rachel stood up, the weight of their shared history felt less burdensome, and the path ahead, while uncertain, seemed filled with promise. But as Emily stepped into the elevator, heading toward the next chapter of her life, one lingering question remained. Would James Wilson be the ally she hoped he would be? Would he support her, or would he be just another obstacle in her journey? The final piece of the puzzle was still missing. But tomorrow, Emily Thompson would find out everything. Thank you for watching Heartfelt Stories. We hope you enjoyed today's emotional journey. Stories like these remind us that sometimes, life throws us unexpected challenges, but they can also lead to surprising opportunities. If you loved this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts with us. What would you do if you were in Emily Thompson's shoes? Stay tuned for more heartfelt stories. And thank you for being part of our community.